my first acquisition. If you can get in the game but also survive, waiting was the issue because it was 2022. Markets were booming, everything was going crazy, multiples were through the roof. Having all my feelers out there, talking with everyone, and finally I actually almost bought a same market. I still see their trucks one day. It's still on my acquisition radar. It was the true definition of a chuck in a truck. Just hung out at home and played video games all day. I can take his business and blast it off to the moon. Really quick and smooth transition. How I made my first acquisition. So my first acquisition was my quote unquote platform, my small platform. It was a smaller deal, a sub 1 million in revenue deal that I paid way too much for looking back. However, it got me in the game. And that is one of the most important parts, is if you can get in the game but also survive. I mean, I could have gotten in the game for about half the price. Looking back now, just kind of waiting. But waiting was the issue because it was 2022. Markets were booming, everything was going crazy, multiples were through the roof, and I wanted in. I wanted in bad. And so I was working with brokers, tons of brokers, having all my feelers out there, talking with everyone, and finally I actually almost bought a appliance repair company. I still kick myself. It's not my fault, but I'm still mad that I didn't get that deal. That appliance repair company, oh, numbers were absolutely gorgeous, still gorgeous to this day. I still talk to the old owner. He's no longer there, but before he left, and he still keeps in contact, it still does amazing. Same market. I still see their trucks one day. It's still on my acquisition radar. I'm gonna pick it up. That being said, my first acquisition ended up being an HVAC company. I talked to a few HVAC companies in Nashville. I kind of narrowed in that Nashville was my market that I wanted to be in. And so the company I found was Rapid Response. I mean, I'm gonna tell you all. And it was a nice little company, but it was the true definition of a chuck in a truck, like just right above there, chuck in the truck. It was two guys with an owner who didn't do much. He's kind of a salesman, comfort advisor owner, but really his two guys did everything, did all the runs, and then he hired out a dispatcher for almost nothing, ran cheap software, made amazing nets, had no debt, and he kind of just hung out at home and played video games all day. And I saw that and went, I can take his business and blast it off to the moon, which we have, but much harder than young, naive Jackson. My full name's Jackson. Young, naive Jack expected. And so it was a pretty smooth job. I flew out here twice, met with the owner, drove around with him, saw what he did, saw his house, saw everything, his whole situation, what he was doing, what he was running, and most of the rest of the time just going through the SBA process. We had an extremely quick SBA close in 40 days or 45 days. We were the first clients of SMB Law Group, I believe they're called, with Kevin Henderson was the guy who was running my APAs and everything at the time. And meanwhile, I just did calls from Boise because we stopped in Boise, Idaho for a while we did that. And really quick and smooth transition. I mean, there wasn't much to the business. As you get bigger, you have to actually worry about due diligence and different processes there, right? Because if I were to have found something, the seller probably wasn't going to come down anymore. And so it doesn't matter once you get into really small deals, what are they going to take off? 5, 10K total. It's just from a purchase price to a lost deal perspective, there's very few items that you need to make sure on for due diligence that the books are legit. And his books were simple because he was a small company running. And so that's how I purchased Rapid Response, SBA, put the money in the bank, wired it in, closed in 40 days. The rest is history. My other acquisitions are more exciting.